I jumped into e-commerce because I had a friend, Jonathan. He did $106,000 in 10 days. And I'm like, what the heck? And I hear this from another friend. So I'm like, dang, that's crazy, 160,000. Have you ever seen like an e-commerce store where it'll have the little pop-up at the bottom that's like, this person just bought this, person just bought this. So I go to his website and like, I'm seeing that, like, it's like ding, ding, ding. And I'm like, yo, this guy's getting so many sales. And so I'm like, yo, I gotta start this.
All right, guys, welcome back to the project. Today we have Harold Walters with us. How you doing, Harold?
I'm good, bro. Happy to be here.
Harold Walters is a serial entrepreneur, restaurateur, e-commerce master, right?
I'll take that.
And then you've also done Airbnbs as well. You've pretty
past.
much dabbled in a lot of industries, right? So you guys are in for a treat. With that being said, I want to know what your journey looked like from the beginning. So where did you come from? How did you even get into business? What inspired everything?
Well, it all started for me when I was 15. So when I was 15 years old, that was my first time I ever made money online. Or basically first time I made money like out of a job. And so my experience with that was basically used to build websites and then take those websites and find a way to drive traffic to them. And I made money off of AdSense.
So you're doing this at 15?
Yeah, at 15.
Okay, how did you find that at 15?
When I was since a kid, like I've always been like into computers. Like I've always been into like technology in general. So I also played a lot of video games. So the way that came about was I actually used to play like games like Counter-Strike and like StarCraft and stuff like that, like on a PC. I grew up in Carson, California, and I think I was playing, it was probably StarCraft, I think. And there was this guy that was on there that was like, oh, I'm from Long Beach. And then like we started like talking because I was like, oh, I'm from Carson. So we started connecting. And he was like, I was into programming because I programmed in high school, but he was also like into programming as well. But one thing he was also into was DJing, and I was into music too. And so he was like, yeah, I'm trying to like buy like some turntables or whatever. So in the summer, I'm trying to make money. And so he was like, we'd always just like go back and forth, like talking about different ways of like making money, like whether it's building websites or whether it's like, like one thing we did was like we sold CD keys. Like we would like find a way to like get CD keys, or it was like some super black hat and gray hat type stuff that we shouldn't have been doing.
Oh, CD keys, what are those?
Yeah, so you remember like back in the day when like if you like purchase like a PC game or like Microsoft Office or something, you used to have like a software key that you have to plug in.
Oh, yeah.
So we would like like find ways to like hack people and get their CD keys.
What?
And then we would sell them like online. When you get into like making money like online or really in anything in like business, you start getting exposed to all these other different ways that you can earn money. So like for me, it was like just learning how to build websites then exposed me to, okay, there's AdSense. You can make money off of like putting advertisements on your website. You can make money off of affiliate programs and things like that. So I was just always dabbling into just different ways of how I can make money. And very similar to like my friend who was like, I need to make money to, buy these turntables. It was like, that was my thing. Is like, I'm trying to figure out how to find money to buy shoes and buy clothes or whatever for school and all that. So yeah, that's pretty much how that all started.
How'd you even figure out like who got the idea to steal the key and just resell it? Commandeer the key.
Yeah, that was definitely like him. Like he taught me like everything, like how to like, I don't know if you're familiar. I don't even know if this is what we want to talk about on this podcast, bro. But,
It's all good.
But
Well,
have you ever heard of Trojan Horse?
Yeah. No way.
Yeah. So
No
we were like
way.
Trojaning people like when we were like 15,
What?
14, 15. Yeah, so we would this is gonna be a dope episode. I'm just gonna say that right now. So when you play Counter-Strike, like some people would download like aimbots, so that they can like easily like kill people and stuff on the game, right?
Right.
What we would do is we'd go on like IRC. Have you heard of IRC? IRC is like a chat room. It's kind of like Slack back in the day.
Okay.
Well, like the thing is like not the average person can get on like IRC. Like you kind of had to know like what server to use and all this other stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? That was like the place people would go if they wanted to like communicate in a chat room with other people that play Counter-Strike.
Right.
So what we would do is we would get like an IRC bot, which would basically like respond automatically when someone, or like send a message is automatically when someone joins a channel. So when someone would join the channel, it would be like free aimbot, download here or whatever. But that would be our Trojan horse. So they would go download it. And the way we're looking at it is like, hey, whatever, like these guys want to like mess up the game for everybody anyway, so we're gonna steal their accounts.
No way.
So yeah, Trojan horse would basically go on and we'd get access to their computer, and then we had a way of like actually like finding their user. We'd turn off their Counter-Strike program, and then we would remove like the file that would save their password, and then we turn on a keylogger, so as soon as they get back on, they'd have to type in their password. So then we would know their email and their password, and then we would log in, change their email address, and then we set up a website to sell the account.
Bro, you did this at 15?
Yeah. 15.
How did you get so creative?
Like I said, I learned from my friends. So
okay, it was your friend.
You gotta get in the right community of people that know what to do.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Your network is your net worth, right?
Network is your net worth. Exactly. And my thing was like, man, like, bro, you're about to make $1,000 to buy these turntables in the summer and you're only 14, 15 years old. Like, I got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing at 15. Oh, I remember what I was doing. I was buying and selling. It wasn't that, but I was buying and selling pirated headphones from a third world country and selling it as if it was real. So,
oh, see? Bro, that's completely gray hat, black hat right there too.
Okay, so you did that at 15. What was next? What was on your entrepreneur journey?
I did a few other things like, with websites online. Like I started a message board. It was like hip hop message board or whatever. That got shut down because we were like pirated stuff. But then what ended up happening was, so I dropped out of high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, high school dropout. And that's a whole nother story. Like, but basically I dropped out of high school, and then from there, I kind of like lost sight of like all the stuff that I was doing like online. It's crazy because like I'm 34 now, so like we're talking. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and I wasn't seeing like the amount of leverage that I had back then. Like, if I would have knew what I knew now, like I would have completely leveraged that situation. But in my mind, it was just like what I was doing wasn't really like scalable, or it was not something that I could really turn into a business back then. And so I kind of just went on to like live this, I guess, quote unquote, normal life of like trying to figure out how do I go to college and like, get a degree and make my family proud and all that. So I was raised by my grandmother, to go back a little bit. And so my grandmother passed away when I was 17. And so that's who I lived with. And so when she passed away, it was then me now trying to like, it was almost like I was trying to figure out how can I like make her proud, because I just dropped out of school. Like she saw me, she died when I was supposed to graduate, basically. Like I said, I kind of just like started going to community college, trying to figure out how to, go to school. I got a regular job, just living that life or whatever, trying to figure it all out. Things shifted when around the time I was getting married. So this is probably like 4 years after high school, or when I was supposed to graduate. So I'm like 21 now, 22, getting married, and I'm like...
You got married at 22.
Yeah, I got married at 22. 22? Yeah, 22, 23. No, I got married at 24. Sorry. So I'm 23, and I'm thinking about getting married.
Okay.
So, and I'm like, I got to find like a real job that's going to be able to like, take care of my family, get insurance and stuff like that. Because before that, I was just doing like a lot of like side jobs and things like that. And so I'm getting I think to myself, okay, well, what do? I don't have a college degree. I don't really know how to do many things right now. So I'm like, well, what did I used to do before? And so I ended up working at a web hosting company because obviously I knew everything about web hosting.
Right.
And so I started at this web hosting company, and I'm doing customer service over the phone. And I'm like talking to all these different like customers that we have. And obviously they all have websites, and they'll be complaining like, yeah, this person built me this website, and it's always breaking and all this stuff. And they're like, I just paid $3,000 for this thing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, $3,000, like this website sucks. And so I'm like, yo, wait a minute. And that was like the entrepreneurial bug like sparked again. But it took me a while to like really figure out how I was going to do it. But at that point, like I started like building websites and like figuring out how I was going to sell them. And so the journey, like that was kind of like the start of the journey, but at the same time, I'm still like in my mind on this whole like climb the corporate ladder. So I get like another job in web hosting that pays more, and then I get promoted, and I get another job in web
Right.
hosting. And then things shifted the moment that I found out me and my wife were pregnant. And so, because at the time I was like trying to go to school for programming, and I thought I needed more skills. That was
Right.
my thing. I need more skills in order for me to get where I want to go. And so I end up searching online because I'm like, I'm about to have a kid, and I'm like, I need to figure out like how to make more money or whatever. So I started searching like, well, how do I make more money? Like, how do I make money online or whatever? And like, I'm already building websites at the time, and then I get hit with this ad by this guy that's like, here's how to sell $10,000 website projects or whatever. And I go, I watch his like, it's like a 3-day challenge or whatever. I watch the challenge, and I end up buying his course when I didn't have the money to buy it, buy his course. And then that was kind of like the first step for me in like entrepreneurship, was me like making, I started going from like making $300 on a project to making $1,500, $2,000, $3,000. But I still had a job at the time. And so have my baby, I made about 10 grand in the hospital room while we're having
What?
in projects.
What?
Just from like what I learned, because I learned how to sell. That's what it taught me. It didn't teach me how to be better at websites, but it taught me about positioning and like how to communicate what it is I had to offer, and then how to basically propose people with the chance of a high conversion on selling a project. And then from there, I jumped into e-commerce because I had a friend, Jonathan. Jonathan's doing like, I hear he's doing $160,000, and he did $160,000 in 10 days. And I'm like, what the heck? And I hear this from another friend. So I'm like, dang, that's crazy, 160,000. And it's funny, like, have you ever seen like on those, on like an e-commerce store where it'll have like the little pop-up at the bottom that's like, this person just bought this, person just bought this. So I go to his website, and like I'm seeing that, like it's like ding, 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 and I'm like, yo, this guy's getting so many sales.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yo, I gotta start this. I'm at a meeting I'm at like a staff meeting for church, and then like I walk in and I see Kevin, and he's on his computer, and like I'm seeing like Shopify and like Oberlo, all these different like platforms that people use to build stores. And I'm like, dang, man, it's my guy Kevin. I was like, Kevin don't even like, this fool don't even have a laptop. Like, when did he like start doing this? I was like, so if he could do it, I could for sure do this. And I literally go home and I build my first store. And then like, it took me 3 hours. I built my store, and then like didn't get any sales at first. And then it took me about 60 days. In 60 days, I generated like about 100 grand.
No
revenue.
way.
Yeah.
You generated 100 grand in 60 days?
Yeah.
Wow.
The drop shipping store.
Dropship. Okay, tell me about the store.
It was called Cloud Ship Direct.
Cloud Ship Direct?
No,
Okay.
Cloud Shop Direct. That was the name of it.
Okay, Cloud
Because I was
Shop
like, I literally, like I said, I went home and I was like, I got to start something.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like let me come up with a name. And I was like, I don't know. Well, Cloud, it's online. It's a shop. Cloud Shop Direct, right? And so I make a logo on some website I had at the time. This is like before I don't even think Canva existed yet. At first, I had no idea what to sell. I didn't know anything. I hadn't watched any YouTube videos yet or anything. So I literally was just like, in my head, I was like, this is around the time when California had that law of like, you got to have, what's it called? Like you couldn't use hand free anymore. Like you had to have like a place to put your phone or something, right? I try like this ad that's like what's for some phone holder in your car or whatever, and like make the ad copy say like California, like this new law or whatever, blah blah blah. It didn't get any sales. So then so then like I start watching videos and whatnot, and it's like telling me like, oh yeah, how to find what people like and all that. So I start going on Facebook and start searching like limited supply or like free shipping, things like that, to get like ideas of what so I can see ads, because that's what most ads would say for products. So I would search Facebook to find other products that are hot. And then I end up finding like this cat purse.
A cat purse?
Yeah, it was like a purse shaped like a cat.
Uh-huh.
I go on AliExpress, I find the product on there, and then I'm like, add it to my store, and then I just run ads for it. It's just an image or whatever. And I get my first sale, and it was from France. I don't even know how it was from France. I don't even think I ran ads like worldwide or anything, but I got the first sale from France. I got like 2 more sales that same day. And then, but like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like switching my ads around and all that. So it stopped working. And then eventually I just, I got access to a course from my friend. He sends me this course by a guy named John Mack. It's called Store Formula. And it basically like broke down exactly how to like, you know, give me a framework, you know, how to find products, what products to find, things like that. And so I just created like a general store where I just added like a bunch of different products, and I would test 5 products a day with $5 ads. And then the product that hit for me was this waist trainer. And this was like when waist trainers were like hot, like 2017, like March or something, like February, March 2017. And yeah, that one product alone made me like 70 grand. Yeah.
Wow.
So I bought it for $6 and I was able to sell it for like $24.99. Yeah.
Wow. What was your margins on that?
It's like 75, 80%.
80%.
Yeah.
So off of a waist trainer, you made $60,000.
Yeah. I was netting about anywhere between like 12 to 15 a month.
Okay. So you started troubleshooting. You didn't see this was working. So you went out and got more knowledge in your specific space, right? And then use that to figure out what product. So it was a lot of trial and error, A/B testing products at a big scale.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the whole game is just testing products over and over again. Like I tested like I said, I would do about 5 a day, 5 at one time, and then whichever ones just did not work, I'd go ahead and swap them out for a different one.
Okay, that's super smart. So what you're saying is somebody that has a product, they could repackage it in a different way. Let's say they're doing 5 different ads and 5 different offers, and which offer hits the best, they could do it like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay. Is that like a tried and true way right now?
Right now, I mean, I feel like it all still works for the most part.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't test. I think like what you just said is a great point. So like back then it was like, I'm going to test 5 different products.
Right.
I think nowadays it's like you really can take that same product and test 5 different angles. if you know, because right now it's like, back then it was hard to create content for like one product. You know, nowadays you can create videos and all types of stuff like easily, or like get someone to make videos for you for a product. So it allows you to test more different angles and different ideas with one ad. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, the model is still the same. The supply chain's not as easy to find, at least for drop shipping, as it used to be.
Okay. So with the A/B testing, it also comes with positioning, right? So you use that with your co-hosting. So when you went from co-hosting to website design, and the website design taught you about positioning, and you took that to the next one.
Yeah, and that actually helped me with the next thing, which was branching into education. So like selling, like I started doing like e-commerce coaching. And if it wasn't for what I learned in that web design or like that proposal course,
Right.
yeah, I would have had a really hard time with that, because it taught me just like how to like position yourself as an expert or as an authority figure.
Yeah, it's awesome seeing your journey, because in the beginning it was all about sales, and then the next step was marketing. What a lot of people don't understand is like what kind of skills you need to collect to have a successful business. So it's cool to see that, oh, you learned sales in this project, and it might not have been that successful, but it taught you what you needed to know to get to the next step. And the next step was marketing, which is all e-commerce is, right? You have a product that you don't make yourself. It's your job to market it correctly so it could reach the right audience.
Right.
Okay. And then, so you did the e-commerce. Why'd you choose? Did you stop doing e-commerce?
So my ad account got banned after I made that $100,000. It didn't get banned because of what I was selling. It got banned because there was other products that I were testing. And this is for anyone that does have like a Facebook ad account. Like all the ads that you're running inside of your account, if they're still in there and it was for like a product that was say trademarked or something like that, sometimes when you like launch new ads, it can trigger a review of all the ads inside of your account. And so I guess there was an ad I had tested before that was for some other product that was like like trademarked, or there was like a dispute that was well known to Facebook. And so my account got banned when I was like relaunching or scaling ads for my product that was killing it. So there was a point where I was doing like almost $3,000 a day off that one product.
Wow.
And so it got banned. And then once I like tried to get things back up, the momentum was all gone. And I was like, I had very little capital. I had no credit at the time. And so I was like pretty screwed at that time. But I didn't leave it. I still jumped back into it. And I still did it for like probably another year and a half. And then after that, I actually went into consulting. So I started doing consulting for like some pretty big like e-commerce brand. Well, actually, they weren't e-commerce. They were retail brands that were like really ready to jump into e-commerce, and also for some startups. So I had a friend of mine who he was like a branding consultant for a couple different brands. And then he brought me on because there was an organization that worked with like a bunch of hunters and like a bunch of people in the Midwest, like outdoorsmen, that type of stuff. And so they wanted to take these big brands online. And so I did that for like a year, probably like a year and 2 months. And that was that did pretty well. But then I really wanted to get back into e-commerce, but I needed to do it differently because things were evolving. And so then I branched into building e-commerce subscription businesses. So the way that worked was it was pretty much a very similar model. We would use like a single product that would be like marketed as a free gift, and then that would be like we would drop ship it. But the backbone of the model was basically a membership. So we would take like a product that was in a niche that was very passionate. So let's just like for example, I'll use like meditation or whatever. So we'd use like a meditation like bracelet or something, and then that would be the free product. And then when they buy it, they get upsold into a membership which has content on like meditation techniques and things like that. And then we would sell that for a monthly subscription. And we were able to scale those to about 50, anywhere depending on which store it was, anywhere between like 20 to 70,000 a month.
Wow.
So yeah, that was all birthed in 2019.
Okay, and then with that e-commerce, what did you do after that? You tried it again, and then what was the next step?
During the whole like consulting thing and all that, it was cool. And I made like a little bit of, I made decent money, but I was also traveling a lot on my own dime. And so like I was in this place where it was like, shoot, like I gotta really figure some stuff out. The way that the first e-commerce, the subscription business started was I went into my boy Kevin's office, same one that I saw on his computer on Overload or whatever, right?
Right.
So we had kind of the similar journeys. Like he started in e-commerce, we started at the same exact time, and we did around the same numbers around the same exact time. And then we had the same downfall around the same exact time. But
was there a reason behind that downfall?
I don't remember what Kevin's was he had payment processor issues.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
So basically like Shopify held like all of his payouts for like a good like 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. And then from there he jumped into Airbnb. So that was like what he was working on. And so but he had this one store still that he was like, man, like I believe in it. I gotta get this thing back up, whatever. So I walk into his office and like, I'm always like funnel hacking and like checking out different like stores and funnels and whatnot. And so that was the first time I had seen someone do like a subscription funnel or whatever. So I walk into Kevin's office and I see him working, trying to figure out his thing. And I was like, bro, like scratch this, like keep the store. Like, let's just convert this thing into a subscription brand. So we literally like sat in the office for like 2 days and we came up with this model. And then that was where the subscription model came from.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So we launched it with that store first. And at the time, I didn't have any money really. Like I was like super cash poor. And so I basically, we just worked out a deal where I was like, hey, let's just go partners on this thing. We started with $1,000 credit card and turned it into like, we were doing $10,000 a month in like, I want to say about like 2.5 months or something like that, 3 months. During that time, 2019, super cash poor, but I just learned like, leverage and like, networking and all that. And so I basically established equity positions in about 4 different businesses in 2019.
Wow.
And so that was one of those being the restaurant, which that was the only one I actually put up my own money. And then so we had the restaurant, we had the business I did with Kevin, and then we had 2 different Airbnb businesses started in that time as well.
Got it. And then, okay, we just covered a lot. You started a restaurant business, e-commerce brand, and 2 Airbnbs at the same time. That's a lot in 2019.
Yeah.
How'd you get into the restaurant business?
I have 3 partners, childhood friends, basically. So there's my partner Nolan, and there's my partner Christian. Nolan moved next door to me when I was 7 years old, and then Christian's his cousin.
Okay.
So we all live like South Bay, California, and it's crazy how it all worked out. Like Nolan's parents moved him out to Riverside, so about 45 minutes to an hour away from where we're at. And when I was in the 8th grade, 5 months later, my grandmother moves me out to Riverside as well, or Moreno Valley, like right next to Riverside. And then this is while we're all in like middle school, high school. And then about 4 months later after that, Christian's family moves him out to Riverside.
What?
So we're all still like crazy, like connected, right? And then we have my other partner, Mike. We meet him playing basketball like at this park, probably like when we're like, I don't know, I want to say junior, like I'm like a junior in high school maybe or something like that. And so we had never talked business like ever, like throughout whatever I was doing. We just never had any conversations about business really. And then one day we're in a basketball league. So this is like 2018. And they pick me up at my place to go ride to the game. And Mike's in the back seat with me. And then me and him were talking, and we're just talking like he's telling me about how he's starting his own restaurant. So he had started Mad Bun in Chino. He's in the process of opening it, and I'm telling him about like my journey and like e-commerce and all that and what I had going on. And then so we're like, oh, let's just hang out and go have coffee or whatever. It's the first time we're ever talking business. We know each other for like 12 years now. We never talked business. And so, yeah, we're just talking through things, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And then at the time, Nolan and Christian had worked with Mike at a restaurant. And then they were discussing like potentially like opening a restaurant. And I had been in Christian's ear a lot too, like, yo, like you should open a restaurant. Like, what's up? And so maybe like a few months later, like, well, one, we got Nolan and Christian to go work with Mike to open up Mad Bun. And then about 3-4 months later after that, we're all sitting at a bar. We're like, yo, we got this idea to start up a restaurant. And so we're sitting at this bar, and then like we literally just come up with this idea. And they're like, yeah, we want you in, like, because of my experience with, I guess, marketing or business or technology or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, all right, let's do it. Like, I don't know anything about the restaurant business, but like, let's get it. And that's just how it started. Like, we had a lease already on the table. That was the other thing. So it was like, yo, there's like an opportunity for this spot. It's gonna be called Rodeo 39.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be a food hall or whatever they're building. And it was built in Stanton, California, which is literally like a mile long or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Mile radius. And I'm thinking like, really, like they're gonna build a food hall there? We like put together this concept. We come up with the name and everything inside of this bar. Come up with the menu items and all that.
At the bar?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Like lightly, it came up with like the idea. And, like, obviously, a little bit more work after that, but for the most part, the name and everything was at the bar. And then we're like, we got to do this tasting. So we go do the tasting, and we show like the curator and all that. Like, here's what we're going to be making, all that. We put together a little pitch deck. Pitch deck looked terrible, and then we signed the lease without even like knowing all the details of what this spot was going to look like or anything.
Wow.
And,
So you guys really just built the parachute as you jumped out.
Facts. Yeah.
And you're like, okay, it's going to work. We have an idea. We just got to figure it out.
We got to figure it
And
out.
how many months did you have to figure it all out?
I think originally it was supposed to open like a year later. So we had about 12 months
Okay.
to figure it out. But luckily we got delayed because of COVID. So this is March 2019, April 2019, we signed the lease. And then our thing was like, all right, we're just gonna do like we'll do a launch party, and then like we'll invite all our friends and all that, and then we'll do a like night markets, and like we did Banana Night Market and all that, and then we were gonna do 626, but we couldn't do it because it got shut down because of COVID.
Right.
So all of our night markets, we didn't make any money up
man.
until one night market right before 626. It was actually the day Kobe died, like when we ran it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and we killed it. We did like, it's funny, I never thought about this. We did $8,000.
Oh what?
$8,000, and then and we were like, dang, like yeah, let's get it. And then like we got accepted to 626, and then bam, they're like, yeah, 626 is canceled.
Oh shoot.
So then we were trying to like figure it out. So when we opened it, we opened in September of 2020, and we had a maxed out credit card and like barely enough money to make our first payroll. And then like the day we opened, it was just like skyrocketed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what'd you guys do for marketing to get that many people in the door?
Instagram primarily.
Okay.
We actually had some, when we first started, we did have some marketing partners that we brought on. So we brought them on because, well, we also needed like some capital. So they invested a little bit of capital, but then they also had some big marketing pages as well that they ran. And so we brought them on, and they basically marketed it on those pages, and then also ran the Instagram, so video content and all that. So yeah, we just grew like pretty big organically. So we probably had about like 8,000 to 9,000 followers prior to us opening the restaurant.
8,000 to 9,000 followers, all through organic marketing.
Yeah, all organic. We didn't do any paid marketing.
Okay. So do you think that's a vital piece of a restaurant business? Is there social media?
Yeah, or some type of marketing.
Some
like
type of
you just gotta definitely be in front of people's eyes for sure. I think paid still works too. It could be paid, it could be organic, influencers. But I think the main thing I would say is your concept has to be on point. Like for us, what made our concept work was it was something that was familiar. So it's like Hawaiian food, like everyone knows, like at least where we're at in our demo, like everyone knows what Hawaiian food is. But we just elevated it and added a twist to it and just made it something where it's like, dang, I know what that is, but that looks a little bit different, you know?
Right.
And so I think like, yeah, concept, marketing, but like you got to make sure you have a concept that like actually looks good. People are going to mess with.
Now, what does Shoots look like today?
So we're at 3 locations now, Long Beach, Ontario, and Stanton. We actually moved the Stanton location in the food hall into a bigger location in the food hall. And then we have 2 more locations opening this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So
So
5 total.
5 total by the end of the year.
Yep. About 3 years.
All right. So what is your plans for that?
Expand for sure.
Expand for sure.
I'd love to get to where we're opening about 10 of them a year.
Oh, wow.
Within the next, I'd say like 18 months. Yeah, I'd like to be in the place where it's like, yo, we can go out and sign like 10 locations.
And you want to privately own it yourself
For now, yeah.
for you and your team.
Yeah. I think eventually, like I used to be like really closed off to franchise. Like, I don't know if I want to do that and give that kind of control or whatever
Right.
to the franchisees. But what changed my mind was like, if we really get the operations like dialed in and like have it where if this thing could be easy for us to run, then we can make it where it's easy for anyone else to run.
Right.
And so, yeah, now it's just been about figuring that out so that we can do that.
Okay. So I just laugh right now. It's because of your entrepreneur journey. You got sales, marketing, and what you do for restaurants.
Operations.
Operations. Operations is a huge thing. So what made you learn about operations while running a restaurant business?
The restaurant.
Restaurant? Yeah. So tell
Yeah.
me about some growing pains. Like what made you make a operation scale better?
I won't say that I just learned it all in the restaurant because I definitely learned a lot about operations and e-commerce.
Right.
And then I also learned a lot while I was consulting for the companies that I was, the retail companies. So that taught me a lot about like, I just realized that with just e-commerce, I was missing a lot of missing pieces. Because when you're doing e-commerce, it's kind of like you said, like all you got to know is the marketing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you have to know if you're drop shipping. But if you're like running an actual business where you're the one manufacturing the product and things like that, then you got to understand like so many other pieces.
Yeah.
And so when I got into the restaurant business, it was like I came into it with the mindset of like, yo, we got to make this thing run like a machine. And so, and that actually came a lot from when me and Kevin were starting the subscription business, because that was our first time like actually hiring like real employees like inside of like in America,
Right.
you know. And so that was when we started like reading eMyth, you know, and learning like, okay, we got to build like position agreements and operations manuals and stuff like that. So when we first opened up the restaurant, I realized like, dang, like the restaurant having solid operations is like the core of the business, because you can be really good at marketing, but it's not like e-commerce where it's like you get sales and you can just keep getting more and more sales. Like with the restaurant, it's like, dude, if you have someone come in and either the food's trash or it doesn't look good, the store doesn't look good or whatever, it's like that person's going to immediately go tell 5, 10, 20 other people. You're going to get a bad Yelp review. You're going to get like the margin for error is so much more slimmer than running like an e-commerce store. I started going to a lot of restaurant events and like learning how like the big companies are operating. And that was when I just learned like, okay, I really got to dial in and understand like how to make things more efficient. I got to understand supply chain. I got to understand, what's it called? I got to understand labor efficiency, you know, just how to make things so much easier inside of the store. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how it all happened. But, you know, even down to like data, because like that's one thing that like in e-commerce it's kind of easy to get all your data like aggregated in a way. But with the restaurant, it was like in order for me to get all the data points that I really need, I had to like start creating spreadsheets and like getting people to like outsourcing, like getting spreadsheets created so that I can see like everything on a weekly basis from just a database perspective of like, oh yeah, we got to fix that, fix this, do that. So yeah, just made me realize like operations is super key.
So with all the businesses that you created, is there a running theme in creating a successful business?
Yeah, and I think the one thing for me now is like concept and knowing your why.
Knowing your why.
Yeah.
Why is your why so important?
Because it drives you, and it's like and not just my why, but like the why of the company. You know, so like as we've scaled, and I wouldn't have learned this if we didn't start scaling Shoots. But as we've started scaling it, it's now realizing that okay, we have a store in one location, we have another store 30 minutes away, and another store 30 minutes away. The essence of that brand has to be within all three of those stores. And that gets hard to keep that essence if you don't actually, if the brand doesn't know why it exists. And then the people that work there don't know why it exists. So like one thing I learned like recently was like looking at things like as like this triangle of like you have their ultimate intention, right? So I'll use like Chick-fil-A as a good example. So like Chick-fil-A's ultimate intention is that they want people to experience the glory of God, right? And so out of that ultimate intention, they set up an architecture. And that architecture is like the infrastructure of their business, right? It's like, it's how the people talk. It's what are the like requirements and principles that they have in that business. And it also might look like something like we close on Sundays. So like that's like their architecture. And that architecture is like putting their money where their mouth is of their ultimate intention. And what that does is it dictates the environment of the business. So now who goes to work at Chick-fil-A? Someone that doesn't want to go to work on Sundays,
right.
You know, someone that wants to go to their church or they want to, you know, whatever. Someone that says my pleasure because it's their pleasure, not because it's Chick-fil-A's pleasure.
Right.
You know, so like, yeah, I would say like that is actually the number one thing is like that ultimate intention and like, and then finding the right who's that are going to fit within that.
Right.
And then from there, like concept and all the other stuff is like, it's important, but when you're talking about scale, you got to be able to have all of those pieces.
Yeah, I can see that in Shoots right now. You do Shoots giving. You do I think it's a monthly getaway, or you go out with the whole workforce that you have.
Oh yeah, so we actually do those 4 shoots. That's part of like Shoots Giving too.
Oh, that's
so like Shoots Giving, and then like with Shoots Giving. So Shoots Giving, we give away free chicken sandwiches to everyone. You know, no purchase necessary.
Wow.
And then what we do is 25% of the proceeds that for anything that anyone does buy in the store, we give to a local charity, or a charity for something that's going on. Like for instance, when the earthquake in Syria happened, we gave it to them, or organization partnered with relief for that. And then we've tested like different things with it, but usually we'll also do like on those days we'll close early. So the next one we're actually going to do it like that again. We're going to close early, and then we have an outing with our team when we so that way we can reset the store, but then also it's like, hey, we just had a day of just giving. Now let's give back to our team and go out with them.
And is Shoots your main business right now that you're looking to scale?
It's the one that like I mainly operate in. So like, you know, I obviously have 3 other concepts. We have Sweet G's, we got Buenos Migos, and then we have Breezy. Shoots is like, in a sense, it's kind of like a guinea pig as well, because like it's the one that's already like moving forward. It's already has more locations popping up. So a lot of it's like taking a lot of the operations and things that we're learning from that and applying it to the other businesses. But yeah, right now, like that's the one that's like, you know, we're just really pushing because it already has the legs behind it. So
I know building businesses isn't the easiest thing to do, right? Did you ever have a moment in time where you were like, man, is this worth it? Like,
yeah, like a month ago. And that's actually where the conversation of what I just told you about, like that pyramid,
right?
That actually came because I was having a conversation with one of my advisors. So one of my advisors, he was big at Panda Express. He like helped Panda Express scale from being in the malls to actually opening up like regular stores. And we were talking about that concept. So I started like diving heavy into just like the why, because prior to me having that conversation with him, I was really just feeling like, man, like, why am I doing this? Like, you know, doing e-commerce and like doing other businesses where you can make much more money faster with less like headache, less initial capital, less retail footprint and all that stuff.
Right.
It was kind of just like, man, like, why do this when I could be doing that? You know, I have those skill sets. But I just remind myself of like why I actually got into the business too, like why I really dove into it. Because when I first got into the food business, I wasn't like, me and my partner Mike were more like, all right, Nolan and Christian, this is you guys. Like, we're just going to be here to support, and like, you know, I'll do some marketing stuff, whatnot. I started meeting more people in the food industry, and I started like, you know, researching and like watching more videos and like seeing what bigger companies were doing and whatnot. And it just really like I felt it in my spirit of like, man, like this is the type of industry I want to be in. Like I love seeing people like eat the food and enjoy it, and like seeing people walk into your establishment is like a different feeling than like, you know, just selling a product online and whatnot. And so I started like reading more like Simon Sinek and reading like, you know, Start With Why and like Leaders Eat Last and like watching all of his videos and like, and then it was just a mix of like that and reading like Good to Great, like different books like that talk about the why and the who and like, you know, how to grow a really big business. And then I just started realizing that like even my aspirations for why I started it were small. Like I was operating out of lack. I was operating like I really had the idea of like I want to sell this thing for $100 million,
right?
Which is a big number,
right?
But it was like I wanted to do that because I wanted to get paid and I wanted to get out and go back to doing whatever else I wanted to do, as opposed to like I can build something big, you know.
So right now, where do you think the restaurant industry is going to go?
It's already started, but like it's going heavily digital for sure. And that's another reason why I jumped into it, was because I started seeing how everything that I learned in e-commerce was starting to merge with the restaurant industry. You know, so like all the different tools for like email marketing and like running Facebook ads, the Facebook Pixel, landing pages, like messenger campaigns, like all of this stuff you're now starting to see in the restaurant industry. And now the restaurant industry is starting to build tech very similar to what they were building in e-commerce. You're even seeing businesses that were e-commerce businesses, like tech companies focused on e-commerce, now building the same tools for the restaurant industry now. Or like now, like, hey, we do e-commerce and we do restaurants. So like you're seeing that from like SMS automation companies and stuff like that. I see it being democratized heavily,
So what does that mean?
meaning that anyone can now start to get into it
Oh, okay.
for a much lower cost than what they used to have to. I mean, we're seeing that with virtual kitchens. We're seeing it with, ghost kitchens, virtual kitchens, just delivery businesses, even just food on a retail level as well, like being able to sell food online and whatnot. And I think that's huge. I think it's a good thing. I think, sadly, I think there's going to be people that fall, that are going to be left behind if they don't pick up on it.
Yeah. So you were saying that a lot of mom and pop restaurants are going to start closing their shop. Why
Yeah.
is that?
Very similar to how a lot of mom and pop retail stores started closing down.
Got it.
Because you had the big giants coming in, right? The Walmarts and all that moving into these small areas. Well, like, this is what's crazy. Now that's the DoorDash and the Uber Eats and the then the Grubhubs. So like, for instance, like DoorDash is doing the same thing as like the Amazon play of they have people come and sell product on their platform,
Right.
and then they go and make the same exact products and then sell them on their platform. So like DoorDash is actually doing that now, where they'll take like the concepts that are on their platform that do the best, they'll go and they'll replicate those concepts.
Got
And
it.
DoorDash is actually in LA and stuff like that, actually have like storefront locations that they actually do delivery out of, selling certain concepts. So like, the way to look at it is like, okay, this is about to be $1 trillion industry.
Right.
Okay, but like, why? Like, it's going to be $1 trillion industry, but it's not like people are eating more food than they used to eat, you know? I mean, I guess they'll eat out more than they would eat at home, but is that affecting the grocery industry? Grocery's still doing just as well as it has been.
Right.
But what I see is that, okay, if that industry is blowing up like that, that means more people are now eating on their phones, or like at least finding what they want to eat through their phone. And that's all algorithm based, which means if you don't know how to master algorithms, then you get left behind.
It's very interesting. So it's kind of like your feed. It shows you what you're most interested in, not just because it's there.
Right.
So everything is always interest based now, even your food.
Even your food.
Wow. Okay.
It's not about where it is,
Uh-huh.
if it's next door, if it's, wherever it is. It's based off of what have you been eating, what are your ratings,
Yeah.
how good the food looks, because that's going to dictate how many people actually click on it.
What's been showing up, what you've been typing in.
Right.
Okay. And so if people want to start a restaurant business, what do you think would be the best way to get their foot in the door?
Well, one, I would say create your concept.
Create
Like,
a concept.
Create your concept. Like, obviously do your research and see what's out there already working. Because the cool thing is, like, now that it's all on the algorithm, you go on Google, you search for food businesses, you're going to see them pop up.
Right.
You know? So now you can go in and see what's being searched most. Google's still the number one search engine.
Right.
Like, so you can go on Google and find out, well, what are the keywords people are searching for? What food do they want? Go create a concept based around that, because you already know that the demand is there. Create a concept and go find a commissary kitchen in your local area and start your concept out of there on DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats. And then also, if you're looking to get a storefront, start looking at food halls, because food halls are popping up everywhere and they're much lesser cost to get into them, as opposed to buying like a brick and mortar store. It's right down the street from you, or that's on the street. Food halls are much, much cheaper.
Okay. Cool. So ghost kitchen type and food halls are going to be the best ways to do it. Okay. So we're now in our question round, and it's going to be a short question and also a short answer, right?
All right.
What is the best advice that you've ever gotten?
Find a mentor.
What's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
Wait.
Okay, I like it. What are your top 3 books?
Rich Dad Poor Dad, Dot-Com Secrets by Russell Brunson, and Ultimate Sales Machine by why can I not remember his name now? Ultimate Sales Machine.
Ultimate
Sales
Sales
the only
Machine.
one. Yeah.
Okay. And if you were talking to your younger 15-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Trust yourself.
Okay. Last question. How can the audience find you?
Harold I. Walters on Instagram. LinkedIn, and Facebook.
Okay, cool. You got it. That's it. Thank you for being on the podcast. This is The Project. I'm your host, Josh Villarreal, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks
you.
for having me, bro.